What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about UFC Fight Night Vera versus Cruz. And before we get into the video, I'm just going to say I do have a little bit of audio technical difficulties here, so I do apologise if the audio is a little bit off, but we're going to push through, we're going to get through it. So, Vera versus Cruz, a couple of weeks ago, this was looking like a pretty weak card, not going to lie, but they've added a lot of fights, a lot of short notice fights, a couple of fights come over from last week as well. And before we get into the predictions, this is not like my full card breakdown, these aren't my final picks, this is my early initial preview, my early initial leans and predictions, and then in a couple of days time after I've researched the card, after I've done all of my personal research, then we get into it. But these are my predictions based off no research, kind of like we had last week because I was too sick to actually do anything. But we move on from that. Ariana Lipski versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm still picking Lipski, but there's so many red flags with this bout, you know. Lipski wasn't medically cleared to fight last week, and now all of a sudden she's cleared to fight this week. Seems a little bit dodgy to me, man. Maybe they're just trying to add more fights to the card, but it's going to be at 130 pounds, so I'm picking Lipski. Not confident in it at all, but all I really do see Cachoeira is just kind of like a punching bag, and Lipski is a pretty good striker, and she can mix it up on the ground as well, so Lipski decision's the pick. There might be a pick flip on this one though. I really don't know how I feel about Lipski not being medically cleared and then all of a sudden being medically cleared, but it is what it is. Now Jason Witt versus Josh Quinlan. Quinlan's on the juice, man. Quinlan is on the juice. So he fought in Dana White's Contender Series 1 and then got popped for genuine steroids from USADA. Still got signed anyway. And then he went to make his debut and USADA picked up something in his urine sample and the Nevada State Athletic Commission wouldn't let him fight in Nevada. So the UFC's doing what the UFC does and they're moving the fight to a completely different state in California now. And California is obviously going to let Quinlan fight. So Quinlan's on the juice. He's on the juice right now. I said in my prediction video, maybe if Quinlan's come clean, maybe he could look like a different fighter, but he's still juicing, which is absolutely mad. Shout out to Jason Witt for still fighting this guy because he's obviously cheating. But yeah, Jason Witt, he's always been known for a bad chin. He's got a really good wrestling game though. Quinlan hasn't really been tested too much in the wrestling department, but he's got KO power. Witt's got a really bad chin. Put that together, you're going to get a Quinlan KO. So that is my pick for that fight there. Yusuf Zalal versus Damon Blackshear. I'm picking Damon Blackshear. The odds for this fight are minus 110 either way on best fight odds right now. So it's very interesting to see where the line's going to go. On Tapology though, a lot of people are picking Yusuf Zalal. I want Yusuf Zalal to win. I actually do think he's a really good fighter. I do think there's a very good chance he's fighting for his career on this one here. He potentially could be getting cut with a loss. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. But before that, he did beat Jordan Griffin, who, albeit I don't believe is in the UFC anymore, but he beat Peter Barrett, who's not in the UFC anymore as well, I guess. But he lost to Ilya Topuria, Sungwoo Choi, and Sean Woodson. All really great fighters, all really good fighters. But Damon Blackshear is a really good fighter too. He's the more natural bantamweight. He's fought at 135 most of his career. Yusuf Zalal is dropping a weight class here. Zalal doesn't mind the ground game, but Damon Blackshear is very good on the ground. He's a very good grappler. He's coming off a submission win over a guy that was 11-7. Before that, he submitted an undefeated guy. Beat a guy that was 5-1. Submitted a guy that's 5-2, you know, and lost to Danny Sabatello. And Danny Sabatello is doing really big things in Bellator right now, so that loss doesn't look too bad at all. I'm picking Damon Blackshear by decision or submission in that one there. I think he's going to look to grapple with Zalal. Now, Angela Hill versus Lupita Gordines, a short notice fight. This fight was only made like 2-3 weeks ago. And I do respect Angela over Hill. I think she's a lot better fighter than her record does suggest, but Lupita Gordines continues to look really good. She fought like 3 times in the space of like a month and a half. Silvana Gomez Suarez, Luana Carolina, and then she fought Loma Lukbunmi as well and won that fight. And then she come back after about 7 months off for Ariana Kanelowski. It looked really, really good in that fight. Ariana Kanelowski's a beefy girl, you know. She's got bigger biceps than me. That's all I'm going to say there. But yeah, Lupita Gordines looks really good in the grappling. Angela Hill's a really good kickboxer, really good Muay Thai striker, but Gordines is a really good grappler. Gordines is going to grapple Hill. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a submission out of Gordines as well, so I might actually pick that to go against the minority and pick Gordines' submission there. I don't think Hill's been finished like at all in her career, or hasn't been finished a lot. I might check that actually. But if she's gonna lose, it will be by submission. Yeah, she's got 3 losses by submission, so I don't really mind that. I don't really mind Lupita Gordines' submission win. So Ode Osborne really turned his career around in my opinion. He wasn't looking too good in the UFC. I think this was his debut. He lost to Brian Kelleher. then beat Jerome Rivera, but that's Jerome Rivera, and then lost to Manuel Carp, and then, he's like 1-2 in the UFC, but then he beat CJ Vergara, who it's not really a good win, in my opinion, at all, but then he knocked out Zaruk Ardashev, once again, not the greatest win in the world, but, I mean, knocking out Zaruk Ardashev, who's got a really good kickboxing background, is a pretty good look, in my opinion, and what Ode Osbourne does bring to this matchup is really fast boxing, really fast hands. He's a good striker. He can mix it up in the grappling as well if he really needs to, but Tyson Nam, really good striker. I believe he's well known for getting like a crazy knockout win as a massive underdog way back in the day, but he's almost 39 years old, and I think his time at the top might be slowing down a little bit, but I know Tyson Nam has a crazy KO win on his record way back in the day. I think it might be this one over Eduardo Dantas, because I think Eduardo Dantas at the time was a really hot prospect, and where is it? Let's have a look. Sorry, I know Dantas at the time was a really hot prospect. I'm trying to look into it a little bit. Yeah, he was on a crazy win. Also, that's right. So Eduardo Dantas was the Bellator champion, come in to Shuto for like a one-off fight, and then got knocked out by Tyson Nam in the first round, which is crazy. That's the fight I'm talking about. Sorry for wasting you guys' time, but I thought I should bring that up. But then ever since then, he kind of fought for other things. He's been brought into the UFC, but he's not on the greatest run, to be fair. Very late into his career. He's about 39 years old. Great striker, great power on the hands, but I think Ode Osbourne should be able to win this one. I think I'm going to pick him by decision. Nam is actually a very good fighter, underrated career as well, in my opinion. The Eduardo Dantas win has stuck in my head for quite a while. And Gabriel Benitez versus Charlie Ontiveros, boys. War Ontiveros is coming. I'm telling you, boys. I'm telling you. This guy might be the biggest underdog on the card. And I'm picking him. I think he might actually be the biggest underdog on the card. No, Gerald Meerschaert's got to be a bigger underdog for sure. I'm picking Charlie Ontiveros, boys. I actually am. Honestly, you can't tell me otherwise, boys. Charlie Ontiveros has got this one, man. So what's happening here is Gabriel Benitez, who's pretty small, he's 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, is moving up a weight class to lightweight to fight a huge lightweight with KO power and Charlie Ontiveros. I know it's not a good look at all, but he did knock down Steve Garcia and almost knock him out in that fight, actually on multiple occasions. If he just had a little bit better fight IQ, he would have got it done. And Charlie Ontiveros is 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. I know Gabriel Benitez is a really good fighter, but he's moving up a weight class against a huge guy in Charlie Ontiveros. Underdog season, boys. About plus 300. I love it. I love this underdog. Honestly, this might be one of the biggest underdogs I've ever picked on my channel, and I'm doing it. I'm picking Charlie Ontiveros to win. Absolute madness, I know. Ontiveros KO's the pick. I'm really hyped for this fight for no reason whatsoever, but I genuinely believe the American bad boy Charlie Ontiveros has got this one. I'm actually so hyped for this fight. Huge for 155, fighting a guy that's 5'8". Also, Benitez has been knocked out so many times in his career. I believe he's been knocked out like 6 times at featherweight. Now he's fighting up at lightweight against a guy that does have power in the hands. I like so much. Okay, he's been finished 6 times, but he's been knocked out 4 times. Let's go on to Veros. Honestly, I'm so hyped. Now, Lukas Brzezinski versus Martin Buday. Picking Martin Buday to win by decision. Brzezinski's also on the sauce. He won his Dana White's Contender Series fight against a short notice replacement in Dylan Potter, and he got caught for the sauce. He got no contest on the record. So, but what concerns me though is it took him about 3 rounds to finish Dylan Potter, who hasn't really proven himself to be the greatest fighter in the world. I think he was actually meant to fight on PFL. He has fought on PFL since, actually, sorry. But, yeah, I'm picking Lukas Brzezinski to win. No, sorry, I'm picking Martin Buday, but it's worth noting that Brzezinski was on the sauce when he beat Potter, and it still took him 3 rounds to beat a guy that was 10-5, taking the fight on short notice. So, Martin Buday, he's not very excited in heavyweight at all. There's actually a good argument that punch was legal against Chris Barnett, but we won't get into that. Beat Lorenzo Hood by KO, which is cool, but what this guy brings to the table is a very heavy clinch game. He clinches you up against the fence, and clinches you up against the fence, and he clinches you up against the fence, and he's going to do that to Brzezinski. So give me Buday by decision. Maybe there's a KO in there at some point, because he does have pretty good striking inside the clinch, but Buday decision is the pick. I picked him to win by decision over Chris Barnett, when a lot of people picked him to win by finish, and I got that right. So Pretty happy with that one. I think this fight's been cancelled. Am I correct in saying that, or has it been re-added? Because this fight was removed from the card and then it's just re-added. So we've got Yasmine Uruguay versus Yasmine Lucindo. Yasmine Lucindo has fought very recently. Sorry, it's Yasmine who hasn't fought for about a year. She recently got signed to the UFC, I'd say about 3 or 4 months ago now is probably the time, but she's a very good prospect, only 23 years old. And Yasmine Lucindo is only 20 years old as well. We've got 2 very young prospects making their debut. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys, haven't researched the card at all. I know Yasmine Uruguay is actually a very hyped up prospect within the scene of guys that do understand prospects and are looking at prospects outside the UFC all the time. So I'm just going to side with her. She's obviously going to be something special about her. I will research this fight a lot though, because there could be a good underdog pick in Lucindo. She's on a pretty good win streak with a pretty good win over Sarah Frota in there as well, only a year ago, and she's been active. So I like this fight in a way, you know what I mean? And in a fight I don't really like, because I don't really like the way I'm going to predict it. We've got Nunes versus Cynthia Calvio, and this fight is so interesting because Nunes is a good striker, but she's a bad grappler. Cynthia Calvio is a bad striker, but she's a good grappler. And in the fight against Mackenzie Dern, which was Nunes' last one, I know it's Mackenzie Dern, and Mackenzie's got no striking whatsoever, but there was glimpse of pretty good striking out of Nina Nunes, to be honest. But at this point, Nina Nunes is 37 years old. You know, she did have a child as well, which is why she took a bit of time off. And now Cynthia Calvio, she's on a losing streak. She's fighting for her career. She's 35 years old. It's now or never for her. I think she gets it done. I think she's going to be able to beat Nina Nunes. I do remember the time when Cynthia Calvio was coming up and she was a really hot prospect, and she beat Pearl Gonzalez and a girl before that, or something in her debut. And at the time, Cody Garbrandt was also at the top, so it was a really kind of hyped up moment for Calvio. But she never really able to capitalise. A draw to Marina Rodriguez ain't a bad look in hindsight. A win over Jessica Ai doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. Losing to these 3 girls that she has in a row ain't too bad. I mean, Andrea Lee is what it is, but that was a short notice fight after about 2 weeks after. So after getting knocked out as well, actually, I remember that. But no, I'm going to be picking Cynthia Calvio here to grapple with Nunes, and I'm going to pick her to win by submission. I don't think she's won by submission in a while, but Calvio submission is the pick for this one here. Now, Devin Clark versus Azamat Murzakanov. I'm picking the favourite. I'm picking Azamat Murzakanov, but I cannot be confident. I just can't be confident, you know. He didn't really look that great against Tafon Nchukwi before he got the knockout in the 3rd round, and Tafon Nchukwi just got knocked out by Carlos Holbrook with a jab. So yeah, and then he beat Matthias Shefnell, who recently beat Bruno Capoloza somehow on PFL. Who knows how that actually happened, but I don't know, man. Like, he's too old to be a prospect. He's 33 years old. If he wants something to happen, he has to have it happen now. Devin Clark's a pretty good fighter. You know, he's got good wins in the UFC. He beat Alonzo Minifield when he was undefeated. And then he lost to Anthony Smith, who's like a top 10 fighter. Lost to Ian Kutalaba, who I believe is in the top 15. Like, Devin Clark might actually be my underdog pick. He might be an underdog pick here, but I'm not going to pick him now. I'm picking Murzakanov now because I do believe there's glimpses of hope there. But I think that Devin Clark's got a really good chance at winning this fight. I might pick Clark. There might be a pick switch there, guys. Keep in mind. But a fight there will never be a pick switch on. I'm picking Bruno Silva over Gerald Meerschaert, and this is what sticks out to me big time. Bruno Silva versus Alex Bahia. That was a kickboxing match for the most part. I do believe Bruno Silva was shooting for takedowns, and I think he got a couple. But Bruno Silva looked pretty good on the feet, you know, and Bruno Silva's got like 19 wins by KO on his record. Gerald Meerschaert, I mean, he did lose by decision to Krzysztof Jotko, and he didn't look too bad in that fight, but, you know, like, it's Gerald Meerschaert, you know, like, he went on a good win streak, and now he just recently lost, and I think Bruno Silva wins. He's a way better striker, more powerful striker, a lot of KO power in those hands. I know a lot of people were saying that about Makhmud Muradov, and Makhmud Muradov ended up losing, but I think Bruno Silva is going to be able to put him out. I think Bruno Silva is going to be able to put the lights out. You know, he's a very powerful striker. He's a very good striker, very technical striker as well. Silva KO is the pick, and I quite like that one. Now, moving on, David Onama versus Nathan Blandware. How this has managed to be the co-main event, I don't know, but what else would you replace it with anyway, actually? This probably is the biggest fight, apart from the main event on the card, to be fair, unless you put Bruno Silva in the co-main event. Or you'd put the GOAT Charlie Ontiveros in the main event, and the co-main event, sorry. But, yeah, I'm going... Oh, man, I really want to pick Nate Landwehr, guys. If you guys don't know, I was picking Nate Landwehr over his last opponent, Zubaira Tukhugov, and Zubaira Tukhugov pulled out. And I know why. I genuinely believe. In fact, Nate Landwehr said himself. He said, "Look, Zubaira Tukhugov's going to pull out of this matchup because it's not a good matchup for him," and he did. So Nate Landwehr's a good fighter. He's a really good personality. Nate the Train. I love it. He's funny. But David Onama's a special prospect. This is a short notice fight. David Onama recently fought Garrett Armfield, who took the fight on short notice. Moved up a weight class. There was a rematch as well. He had beaten Garrett Armfield in the past as an amateur, but knocked out Gabriel Benitez. Charlie Ontiveros is going to replicate that, in my opinion. Lost to Mason Jones, which is not aging well at all. Yeah. I don't know, David Onama, man. Okay, I'm really giving myself reasons to not pick Onama. I'm going to pick him by KO. Landwehr, though, is a tough guy to finish. He did get knocked out by Julian Erosa. He did get knocked out by... Okay, maybe not. Okay, give me Onama. I'm making myself look like an idiot. Let's move on to the main event, and I'll research that and put it on a good breakdown later. This is my very casual preview this week. But we've got Marlon Vera taking on Dominic Cruz, and Marlon Vera is a pretty big favourite, and I'm gonna do it, boys. I'm picking the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominic Cruz, to beat Marlon Vera. I kind of want Marlon Vera to win, though, because he's such a young guy. He's not even 30 years old yet. He arguably hasn't even reached his prime yet of his career. And he probably, at this point of his career, has the highest ceiling. I don't see Dominic Cruz fighting in 2 years' time. He's been injured so much. But Dominic Cruz is a good fighter, man. And in the fight with Rob Font against Marlon Vera, Rob Font was having a lot of success on the feet before Marlon Vera ended up dropping him towards the end of the round. And if Marlon Vera isn't able to drop Dominic Cruz, I think Dominic Cruz has got a really good chance of winning this fight, and he's got 5-round experience. I know Marlon Vera does too. It's not something Marlon Vera doesn't have, but he's got a lot more 5-round experience than Marlon Vera. And Dominic Cruz is a good fighter as well, and a lot of people don't point this out, but Dominic Cruz outlanded Cody Garbrandt in every single round of that fight. A lot of people say it was a very dominant fight for Garbrandt. But I don't know, man. I think people forget, if it wasn't for the knockdowns, there's a very good argument that Dominic Cruz would have won that fight. Where is it? This one here. See, Dominic Cruz, he outlanded Garbrandt in the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, and the fifth round. So, yeah, all I'm saying is there's a good chance. There's a good chance. So, yeah, give me Dominic Cruz. I like him, albeit that fight was about 6 years ago. Why aren't they bringing up a fight that was 6 years ago? But yeah, no, he clearly beat Casey Kenny. He beat Pedro Munoz recently, looked pretty good on that. Pedro Munoz has recently just been fighting all of the big names. It was so good for him. But yeah, I'm picking Dominic Cruz to win by decision. Not super confident on it, but I like it. I like the underdog pick. I like the 5-round experience. I like the fact that Chito Vera wasn't looking incredible against Rob Font on the feet before he got the knockdowns and started beating him up like he owed him money. But yeah, give me Dominic Cruz for now. Maybe the pick will change. Maybe someone will change my mind. Johnny K Picks, I'm looking at you. Johnny K Picks, if you guys don't know, he always changes my mind on picks. He doesn't do it intentionally though. It's not his fault. He always gives me very, very good reasons why someone I'm picking against can win. And then you know what, Johnny, that's a good reason, and then I end up changing my picks. So I'm not blaming it on Johnny K. I'm just shouting him out in a good way, and it's a way that he's actually very good at what he does. And so much so that at some points he does change my mind. But yeah, me and Johnny K Picks, I reckon we're going to make a great team. We're hopefully going to be on a live stream together sometime in a few weeks' time with Blood Money MMA bets. Maybe with Effie from Any Action Sportscast as well. We've got a little team going, We haven't made a video together or anything yet, but hopefully that team gets together and we do great things one day. But what's going to happen is also I'm trying to set up my podcast. I recently reached 2,000 subscribers. Thank you guys very much for all of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a guest. And I'm looking at a couple of people. I haven't asked anyone to be a guest yet. I've asked you guys who you want me to be a guest, but no one's really given me a realistic answer yet. I don't think I'm going to be able to reach out and get a big name UFC fighter. But I think there's a few regional guys that I think have a big enough name to be respected in a podcast. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can get that going. I'm gonna set it all up on Spotify, Apple Music, and Apple Podcasts, I think it's called, or whatever. But we'll sort it out. It'll be a pretty cool podcast. I'll put it out there on YouTube as well if you don't have Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Apple Music or whatever it is. And yeah, we'll sort it out. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys that come in each and every week, and I appreciate all the comments. I try my best to reply to all of them. I know I don't get many comments, but sometimes with my notifications, because I use this channel as my personal channel as well, with like post notifications, this and that, replies and all that, I do miss your comments, and I'm sorry, but let's just get into it, man. I cannot wait to see Dana White's Contender Series this week. I cannot wait for this card. I'll see you in the next one.